Ready?
Hello and welcome back to Tea and Taboos. We are Tracey, although I can't be seen.
And I'm
And you are?
Alana.
Hello.
Hello, where are you?
I'm
She's
hiding. I'm in
disappeared
hiding.
into the pixels again.
Well, no, I'm behind the scenes. How did that sound?
behind the green screen. Maybe one day
Uh,
we'll have a green screen. That'd
yeah,
be funny.
maybe,
That'd be quite
maybe.
funny,
And then
actually.
that really would be some news. But in the
There
meantime,
you go.
in our news, what do we have? We have, oh, life is so expensive, but we'll start
It really
with the
is.
picture. And we were just talking on you renting a place and how expensive.
Exactly. We were literally just having this conversation before we came on here about how much rent is these days and talking about, in perspective of millennials and boomers and how
Yeah.
expensive it has become because there's no hope for my generation as a millennial because it's really expensive. But the generation after us and the generation that's going to come after them, like it's virtually impossible for people to live these days. It's
It
absolutely
is.
insane. It's absolutely crazy.
And
And
then
I'm just, yeah.
and then we're going to talk on how it was back in my day. You know, they say the modern up here. This is some podcast logo, so thanks for the handout here. But it's the only one that was in the middle of the page. And we're going to discuss things like, and you're going to wonder why, Dallas and Dynasty. I can't even remember the theme tune to that. And
Yes, I remember Dallas.
well,
Yeah.
basically, it's what one generation had versus what the other generation got. And hey, check out my lovely fake house.
I know it's beautiful. I wish I could live in a Barbie mansion like that. Very modern, darling. Maybe like I love the pink. I love the pink and the baby blue together, but yeah.
It is
Think of how
pretty. It
much
is pretty.
oh,
I
it's
was
kind of matching your
I'm just
blouse.
feeling in the pink, darling.
There you go. It kind of matches your blouse as well. I see
Yeah,
what you did there. I see
mine's a
you.
little duller. In mid
Like,
case it's Barbie pink, but anyway, it's
yes.
pretty.
Yeah.
And
Even seeing something like that, you're looking at billions and billions of dollars and yeah,
or in my case,
having
a Zoom background.
exactly having that much
A girl can
space.
dream of her own Barbie house. Actually, I've never wanted a Barbie house, but nonetheless, there you go.
Speaking of millionaires and billionaires, what was that really fantastic film? It had, oh gosh, what's his name in? The guy, Jack Nicholson, is it? The guy from The Shining. I can't
Yeah,
remember.
Jack
Yeah, yeah.
Nicholson.
He plays
Yeah.
this billionaire, and there's this really wonderful scene. And I can't remember the one of the black actors. I can't remember if it's Morgan Freeman or something else. But basically, there's a beautiful scene in it, and so Nicholson's character is like this multi-billionaire, and he's got this huge house and all of these rooms and all of his space. And there's like a couple of prostitutes in that scene. And then the juxtaposition of that is that other actor, he's at home with his family, a big table of just food, and it's a comfy little cottage. And it's like, although you can be a billionaire, family and who you have in your life is actually makes you more rich in a sense.
Well,
So put those two
yeah.
scenes together, and Nicholson's character just looks so sad. Like after the prostitutes left, it's just a sad old man just sitting in this massive mansion, just being lonely and
and
alone.
and not even knowing who your real friends are, because most of them are only around for the great booze, the great wine, and any money we might have lying around, or choose
Exactly,
to dish out, and
exactly.
saying yes to your every word and probably lying through their back teeth.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
So that was like
no,
a
no.
scene that stuck with me for a very long time. You can be rich in other areas of life, rich in friendship, rich in family. But, if you've got this multi-billionaire home with no friends and no family, it's like, well, who's the poor one in that sense?
Well,
So that
yeah,
was a really
it's
beautiful
kind of
scene,
sad.
actually. Yeah,
It is
yeah, it
kind of
is sad.
sad, but we take a look. What is the biggest fight and argument at the moment? And we're not even bringing in the Gen Xers, Gen Zers, and the new Alpha generation.
I
Alpha.
know. So
I
many
hate that
different
word.
generations.
I
Yep.
mean, we've got here the baby boomer and the millennials. We know.
I love how the millennials kind of like crying. It's kind of got like a face like, life is tough. And then the baby boomers just
Well,
like, you
looking
know,
looking at you, kid. Looking at you.
there you go. I'm like, our generation quite spoiled. I feel like some millennials are quite spoiled. I wasn't as spoiled growing up, but there are certainly some people who are spoiled. I was having this conversation, I actually went on a date the other night, and we were saying like how we've always been hard workers. So it's almost drilled into your brain, like, do you want to make your own path in life? And then you've got people who do just sort of have things given to them on a plate. So that was also something that we were talking about, because when I was like 15 years old, my father would say to me, all right, you're going to go up to the pub. You're going to get a job there. And I'm like, but Dad, I'm only 15. I can't pour pints. I'm
Not
not
allowed.
even legally.
I have to
Yeah,
be 18
exactly.
to do that.
I'm not even legal to do that. And he said, no, what you're going to do, you're going to go up to the pub and you're going to collect glasses and you're
You're
going
gonna
to
be
get
the
a little bit of
busboy.
pocket money. There you go. And he always encouraged that hard work when, me and my sister were, around that sort of teenage age, like go out there, get your own pocket money kind of thing. So that's another thing.
But I think
Generations who do kind of get things given to them on a plate, but I don't know.
I
It's
also think that it's also very different. I mean, you take a look, we're talking boomers and millennials, but we can go to the USA, for example. Now, where's my train of thought gone to? Choo-choo's just left the station.
they'll come back
The
on.
USA and the UK are very different, I think, in many
Yeah.
ways. And even in South Africa, I remember, and I mean, I grew back in South Africa when it was all apartheid, and
Yes.
it was
Yes.
very, you did feel privileged, but well, you didn't, you just assumed it was naturally yours to have as a white person in South Africa, this level of privilege. And it's only when you look around you're thinking, am I sure that's the way it works? And I wasn't just totally spoiled brat, but my mom was a war baby. She was born
Yeah.
just before the war. And so she wanted to give me, my dad wanted to give me and my sister everything that they didn't have. And
Yeah.
then when it came down to it, the baby boomer generation, which I'm right at the end of, really,
Yeah.
I should mostly, I mean, they've got 18 years in the boomer generation, but only 15 years in every other generation. It seems a little unfair. It's either
Yeah.
all 15 or all 18 or we're buggered. Nonetheless, in the UK, I think, my mom was always taught hard work. She was working in a pharmacy when she was 14 years old in the back office because she couldn't work on the front, and she certainly couldn't work with drugs. But she was 14. I lied at the age of 15 to get a weekend job so I could earn some money for clothes. It wasn't that we weren't not expected to work. But there are some people that just because of their parents' riches that they think they're entitled to that much more. The Nepo babies is what they call them now, although nepotism has existed for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, speak of sort of like war and fathom and going through hardships, my father, he was the same. They actually lived on like a double-decker bus for a while. Like it was tough. Like, he would tell me, when I was younger, if we had bread, that was what we were going to be eating, and it didn't matter if you had mold on it. You just cut off the mold and that's what you'd eat for that evening, because they really struggled.
Well, yeah, my folks were actually quite lucky moving from one country to another, and they did it in their 30s, and they did relatively okay.
Yeah.
Working class nonetheless, or upper working class at tops. As far as
Yeah.
I'm concerned, if you work, you have a job, you're working class. Don't care white
There
collar,
you
blue
go.
collar, any other freaking collar, don't care. If
There
you
you go.
have to have a job to survive, you're working class.
Yes. Yes,
And,
exactly.
when you're sucking in billions from people who've made a lot of money by doing that working hard, so that you can then go and put those millions into somebody's good idea and make a lot of money out of the profits of somebody else's good idea and somebody else's money. You're not working hard. You're just screwing other people over. You're taking the glory away, one from the other.
Oh, no.
Yeah, and
Sorry,
so
you froze. I didn't catch what you just said.
I was talking about where you've got people working really hard, who have gone out, worked for their money, and they've earned a lot of money. You can take a look at somebody like Warren Buffett, for example. He hasn't always relied on other people's money. I'm not saying he was broke to start off with, but he's gone out and he's steadily earned money. He's lived in a house in the 1970s when he bought it. Is like he probably bought it for $100,000 back in the 1970s or even less, and it's now worth 10-20 million dollars or something stupid like that. But he stayed in the house since the 1970s. That's why he's accumulated his wealth by sticking with whatever it was he was doing. Or
Right.
you've got somebody who's an engineer who's worked with their hands and they've had to work their way up. Even if they've had to study in between, they're still workers essentially because they're working for their money. But Have you froze again? Sorry about our unstable internet.
I'm sorry you froze again. I didn't
That's
quite
okay.
catch that.
I said I'm sorry about our unstable internet.
Yes, this is normally a little technical issue we do tend to run into. Well, also it doesn't help that I'm in a basement as well,
Well,
right?
there is
I'm
that.
underground technically.
There is
Technically
that.
underground. Yes,
But I
yes.
mean, I grew up with something. I mean, I'd like to consider myself a yuppie, or I'd like to, mostly because I had a relatively good job. I had a car. I rented a place. I felt like I was on top of the world,
Yes.
until boop,
Yeah.
fell pregnant, got married, and all fell apart. But I grew up in my 20s
Yeah.
watching Dallas and Dynasty and these oil barons and their fancy clothes and them wanting to kill each other for money and getting drunk and their sad little lives. But yet we all freaking wanted it.
Well, that's it.
90% of us didn't get it though. I mean,
Yeah.
the amount of people who've got a house, lost a house, got a house, lost a house, it's a freaking joke.
Yes. It's insane. And
My
there's a lot of scammers
grandparents,
out there.
well, it's not just the scammers. It's a case of the market is ridiculous. And so is the job market. Your job isn't reliable. It's not going to last you 20 years. This isn't when you're in serfdom or indentured servitude or you're leasing the land so that you can pay the taxes and eat,
Well, that's it.
from a kingdom. Our jobs, once you've, and even then the king could just toss you off and you'd be out of a house because you had disfavor or whatever. So you're going to lose a job just like that. So your mortgages and everything that are balanced on that, it's just absolutely ridiculous. And do you rent or buy? If people hadn't died, I wouldn't be living in a house.
Yeah. Yeah. Honestly. Yeah. And the whole renting and buying thing, even buying a house, it's almost impossible these days.
Absolutely.
Like maybe it was probably more possible maybe 10 years ago, maybe even longer than that. But I don't think I'd ever be able to be a home buyer. I think I'm going to be renting for the rest of my life.
But if I was on my own,
yeah,
I would be renting. In fact,
yeah,
I'd probably, and I say this from the deep depths, I could possibly be homeless if I was on my own in Canada right now.
yeah,
I mean, I do a lot of little jobs and I get a
yeah,
little bit of money in, but I don't really earn enough to pay rent or buy food. And I don't have a car, so I
yeah.
couldn't even live in that.
No, yeah,
And
it's
that's to
virtually
say, I
impossible.
have lived in my car.
Yeah,
I have
got to do what you got to do.
I have sofa surfed for a year. I have looked at my landlord and said, well, you're going to have to evict me because I can't afford to pay the rent. And I'm
Yes,
supposed to be a boomer. Granted,
yeah,
the youngest of the boomers, like I should be a Gen Xer probably, but nonetheless. And there's Gen Xers I know. They've all had it goes in swings and roundabouts. To say I knew how to fix this problem, I couldn't say. But just 12, 11, 10 years ago when we moved to this country and were looking for property, people were taking really crappy properties and paying a fortune for them. And I hate to say this, but we might have gone over. So I'm going to stop recording now just in case. We'll come back to this in a moment.
We will
see
be
you
back, guys.
We'll see you shortly. See you shortly. Bye.